Hey guys, Crypto Sunday, and it's been a rather nice week. 12, just over 12% up, £36,000. A little less in percentage actually than the stocks, surprisingly enough. But yeah, I'm preparing for a bit of a downside sort of coming up soon because yeah, Bitcoin itself is doing most of the work and can't go on forever, of course. So just looking at the CoinShares report, again, this is from 5 days ago, so it's not the reason for the last few days run up, but yeah, certainly sort of the previous week, you saw 708 million in inflows into these ETFs, 926 out of Grayscale, and then 883 and 674 into the BlackRock and Fidelity ones. Still by far the leaders, so that's good. Looking at Bitcoin, you had 702 into Bitcoin. Obviously, that's the big daddy still. A negative on Ethereum, 6.4 million. Still a little bit trickling into multi-asset. And 13.4 million into Solana. Very nice. Has seen a reasonable gain this week. Litecoin, slight inflow. Short Bitcoin still up with this much going into Bitcoin. That's not really surprising. Tiny bit into XRP and a little bit into Cardano. That's not too bad. But yes, Canada still negative, so possibly some of that money going into the US ETFs. Slight positive in Germany, slight negative in Sweden, and 20 million into Switzerland. That's quite good. So we do have recent numbers. This is the total flows and assets, I believe, up to the 8th. Whether this does include the 8th or it's just up to the 7th. But yeah, 3.7 billion for iShares 1 and 3.1 for Fidelity. Still a reasonable amount of money going into both. And on the Thursday, you had only 101 million of selling from Grayscale, and over double that go into the Bitcoin iShares one, and over that in the Fidelity one. So that's pretty good. It's maybe Grayscale sort of selling dying down. We do still have other sort of that's maybe the public selling sort of dying down. We do still have people like Genesis that hold a large amount, I believe, and people like Three Arrows Capital, BlockFi and people like that. Whether haven't sort of dug into whether they've still got some left, but yeah, certainly if they haven't sold yet, maybe they just need to take a little bit of time. But yeah, looking pretty good. And I think since ARK have since posted that they reached 1 billion, so they had a decent inflow. They had 86 on Thursday, so they must have had a nice Friday, and they've announced they've got to 1 billion. So you got two at sort of closing on 4 and sort of 3.5 billion, and yeah, ARK at 1. So very nice. Speaking of ARK as well, they've made an amendment to their Ethereum spot ETF application. These, remember, ARK are the first one with the final deadline in May, and they've made a change partly to make it cash create in line with the Bitcoin ETF ones. That seemed to be the final thing to make them go through. So they've changed that to the same cash create method, just to make it sort of a real copy and paste of the Bitcoin applications. But the other thing they've done is sort of put in a note about staking. So there's been a lot of rumours about whether the ETFs would actually allow staking and sort of whether it's possible, really. So you're sort of taking your Ethereum, which you may be staking yourself, and putting it into the ETF, and the thoughts were that they could just leave it sat there, which seems potentially a little bit of a waste if they've got loads and loads, because you need 32 Ethereum to properly stake. You can use people like Lido for staking less than 32 ETH, but that's a third party. So people were thinking with all of that Bitcoin potentially in the ETF, would they be staking and then would they keep it themselves or would they give it to the investors? And sort of how would that work? Would it just increase the number of Ethereum per share and increase the share price? And would they pay a dividend maybe? Would they pay it out in Ethereum or in cash? That would mean they'd have to sell it. So a number of different opportunities and things they could do. I'm sure maybe that could be a selling point of various ETFs. You might get the sort of BlackRock one just leaving it sat there and the ARK one paying a yield, and then I'm sure everyone will be sort of piling into that. But yeah, interesting that they're starting to look at staking and also sort of making it in line with the Bitcoin ones on the Cash Create, because we still do have Gary Gensler in office, so I'm sure he'll want it that way. Got the Masari report as well for XRP. I normally sort of have a brief look through this because it's not a huge position for me. But yeah, some of the sort of numbers look a little weird, to be honest. Ignore the market cap figures and that sort of thing. But daily average active addresses is down 31% from last quarter, 47% year on year. But daily transactions sort of up, well, similar to Q1 23 really, but up on the last couple of quarters, and new addresses quite heavily up. So a load of new addresses, but they're not active, which is a little bit strange. The issued currencies on top of XRP is up, sort of similar to Q1 levels. DEX volume has completely crashed from previous quarter. It's sort of up and down all over the place really. 1.3, 0.6, 2.6 and back to 0.6. But NFT transactions have spiked up quite heavily. 45k after being at sort of in the teens. So yeah, bit all over the place for XRP. Transaction fees sort of heavily up, and sort of with all this, I think this is NFT mints causing sort of high transaction fees. It's still, a fraction of a cent, but yeah, higher than usual, and that has sort of increased their revenue. So a bit of money for the team. Yeah, and then sort of some of these figures just go into those in a little bit more detail. They do sort of note that it shouldn't really be compared to smart contract platforms like Ethereum and Solana, because it doesn't really do smart contracts. It's more of a sort of centralized system. So yeah, maybe NFTs and sort of DEX volume and that sort of thing isn't really the thing to be looking at, but you got to look at some sort of measurable metric. They have actually noted some sort of rather large brands on their NFT platform. They had Ducati motorcycles using the XRP ledger for its digital collectibles program. And FIFA's World Cup League, they've minted 2.7 million NFTs. So, yeah, interesting. I'm sure it's sort of very low fee, but I don't think it's got quite all of the functionality of something like Solana. So interesting to see they would go with XRP. But yeah, I do sort of have this as a smaller holding and sort of see where it goes. I sort of thought this would be a banking, maybe even a central bank digital currency type coin, but they do seem to be sort of going in, multiple directions. And we've got to have a bit of a laugh at Craig Wright, haven't we? His court case has started, and he's been sort of, seems like, embarrassing himself a little. They were sort of asking him about his sort of actions with his solicitors, maybe a little bit unprofessional, and he said, "I'm sorry, my lord, but the only word I can use is that I was a complete arse." So I think we just caption that there, and that is him in a nutshell, basically. He's sort of trying to get proof, basically, that he has original draft versions of the Bitcoin white paper, and they're trying to say, sort of, was this yours? And he says, I can't really tell you. It looks like it, but I don't have sort of the original versions to memory. If I were to go back to the office, I could tell you what they were, and you think, well, this is the whole point of the case. You kind of should have brought them and sort of memorized what they are. And yeah, he says he was having them in different formats, and that's why he was yelling and screaming at his solicitors. And then says it was a failure by me. Rather than yelling at my paralegals, I should have been doing it myself. The hearing continues. So it does seem like this has very little chance of coming to anything. He's not suddenly produced a slam dunk that he is Satoshi and sort of wrote the original white paper, and sort of the extension of that would potentially be the lawyers force the Bitcoin coders to sign everything over to, or sign the original Satoshi wallet over to him, and he would sell 1 million Bitcoin and crash the whole project and buy Bitcoin SV. So yeah, it doesn't look like that has very much chance of happening. It's been a decent week on the Ethereum burning as well. 12,400 Ethereum down, quite good. 120 million, 166,000. So quite nice. Sort of looking on the 30-day, sort of commented that after this nice downtrend, it sort of rose back up again, and whether this was just a temporary thing, but yeah, now a huge downtrend, sort of even steeper than the previous one. So maybe it is just sort of whatever it is, NFT mints, DeFi, who knows? But yeah, it's just going on these sort of meandering runs up and down, but still overall down. So maybe I should just take the uptrends with less concern and just sort of think it'll be back down eventually. And yeah, obviously compared to Bitcoin, Bitcoin would be sort of what would it be? Do they show the proof of work? They don't show Bitcoin. They show Ethereum when it was on proof of work, and you can see Bitcoin. So yeah, Ethereum being slightly down, and Bitcoin would have been sort of 1.7% up year on year, sort of as an annualized percentage, and Ethereum on the old one as 3.15. So the fact that it's 0.2% down since the merge, you can sort of see last 30 days is similar, and last 7 days is very good. So yeah, positive steps. So unsurprisingly, the coins for the week is just who's the greenest, and so Bitcoin has provided most of my gain, but isn't quite the greenest. 12% up. Solana 12.6% up, very nice. Is a large position. Ethereum just under 10% green. Chainlink 13.6%, very nice. Cardano 9.7%. XRP 4.2%, always lagging it seems. Polygon 10% dead. Power Ledger 3.6%. Audius 7.7%. Internet Computer 3.7%. Quant 4%. Gala 13.2%, is doing quite well. Basic Attention Token and VeChain are both 7%. So a lot of the smaller altcoins sort of still lagging behind Bitcoin and the bigger coins. Maybe their time comes later, sort of after the halving, but we'll see. So yeah, leave your thoughts in comments below and like and subscribe. See you soon.